like, comment, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. All right, y'all, I'm back with some new content. This video features Rambo, aka Wild Quetzal. Guys, this happened actually on August the 6th. I am just now getting around to doing my edits because I've been busy with other videos and other things, other projects. So, be sure to drop me a comment, smash the heck out of that like button, and share. All right, y'all. Let's get into this video.
To the situation at hand. So if somebody gets upset and is willing to shoot and take a life, that is not masculine energy. So the fact that they're looking at that as when in fact men just have to tap in to their aligned, balanced, sacred masculine, which will always have some feminine component because that's existence. And so you're always going to have the feminine mixed with the masculine, but the masculine component, the masculine role in itself is the identity that you assign to yourself, given the role in your society and how that plays out relative to other people around you. So you need to have an awareness of that. And so my experience has been that the more I tap into the masculine parts of myself, the more comfortable I am with the feminine aspects of myself. It hasn't been the other way around. I haven't had to tap into the feminine to be more comfortable with the masculine. I've had to align with the true masculine and do the disciplines and just have the role, play the role for me to be able to be more comfortable with my feminine. But they're saying the opposite. They're saying that men are too hard and like, no, that's not what's happening. You're looking at this shit all wrong. And so I understand the prescription that you're giving it and why you're giving it, but it's out of alignment because the perception of what masculinity is skewed. So we need to go and re-identify, are these behaviors actually masculine, or is it overly feminine characteristics masquerading as masculinity? All right, so when we can make those two distinguishments, that's when we can have a better perspective and say like, oh, that's not actually masculinity. Okay, masculinity is actually what comes and saves and provides protection from that type of energy. Stoic masculinity will put itself at the front lines to guard against the toxic masculinity. And
Check out this short featuring Haru, aka David. He joined the cult when they were in Mexico. Guys, be sure to drop me a comment, smash the heck out of that like button, and share.
so the best antidote to toxic masculinity, or what we label toxic masculinity, is actually strong men who are actually embodying their sacred masculine. That's the antidote to what you guys are labeling, or what the world is labeling toxic masculinity, not you guys specifically. So I also want to talk about how women are shamed for their natural innate desires. One of the comments on my video said that all women want is money and a house and resources, and yeah, that's the feminine prerogative. The feminine prerogative is to receive, to be provided for, to be cared for. There is nothing innately wrong with a woman desiring to be taken care of. There is nothing innately wrong with a woman wanting to be provided for and be taken care of. Nothing wrong with that. Don't ever feel guilty as a woman for being in that role, because when a man is making you feel bad or shaming you for that, he's just out of alignment with himself. And so his approach is to take you out of alignment with yourself, and therefore there could be harmony. If we both out of alignment, because I'm playing another role and you playing the opposite role, then we could potentially find alignment, right? But what happens is that this sounds good in theory, but there's underlying nature that we will never be able to override. So a lot of women say they want a man who's tapped in spiritually, right? They want a man who's conscious. And that's perfectly fine. But what happens a lot of the time is that this spiritual consciousness comes coupled with a lack of responsibility. It comes coupled with a lack of discipline. It comes coupled with a lack of embracing the masculine role. So later on in the relationship, they feel the pain and the struggle of of lacking the masculine aspects, because they were so focused on hoping that he was spiritual and all these things, which is a good thing, like I said. But if that's out of balance because the masculine isn't activated, you will get the same result over the long term that you get with the man who is masculine but lacks spirituality. You're still not going to be fully fulfilled in that relationship. You're still not going to be fully comfortable with that relationship, because it's always going to feel like there's something missing. So the reason that I've opened up Wild Brotherhood and I shifted my approach to speak more to men is because I recognize the deep inadequacies and holes that we've left out in the spiritual community, in the conscious community. And I think that the quickest route to harmony and to building what we want to build is to empower the masculine, empower the feminine. But because I'm a man, I believe that I should only speak to men. I don't believe that it's the man's responsibility to talk to women, because men understand men and we can hold each other accountable. But as soon as we get in the mind space of telling women what they should be doing, the receptivity a lot of times goes out the window, and all we can do is find alignment within ourselves and share that with other men, right? And so through that, we spread the masculine alignment. And if women take on that role as well on the feminine aspect and spread that through the feminine side, then we get alignment on both sides. So that way, when we come together, we already understand the dynamics. We already understand how we should be coming at each other, what we want, what we're desiring, what our standards are. And so all these things are clear and in order. So it doesn't have to be this gamble of like you hoping that they have a certain perspective or they're willing to take on certain roles. Like now it's more clear. So then we could operate from a place of clarity instead of gambling away, hoping and wishing that the people that we, get with are in alignment.
Ex-Carbonation member Stephanie, aka Serenity, aka Grace.
When I unplugged from the Matrix back in 2017, I don't know else how you would say that, because I quit my job, broke up with my boyfriend, sold all my things, and went to Costa Rica to be with my spiritual guru, aka cult.
I gotta run that back. I rarely hear her refer to carbonation as a cult.
Costa Rica to be with my spiritual guru, aka cult. I had this perception of the medical industry that was not very positive, because I didn't believe in helping people with drugs, and so I pulled out of that. But now that I've taken the time to isolate myself and understand who I am and get more in tune to that, I don't feel a need to disconnect from society or civilization.
So that's a lot of the red pill community, right? Red pill is like, women should be doing this, women are wrong, women only want money, women, like everybody's trying in that community is trying to tell the women what they should be doing. But a lot of times it's feminine embracing overly feminine men wanting and desiring femininity from a woman. So they're thinking that they have to coach a woman how to embrace them and how to be feminine, when the reason they're getting those results in their life is because they're not playing the role to attract what they're actually say that they want. So it's quite a paradox and quite a contradiction to observe, because when you understand energy dynamics and you understand how things are attracted, you don't try to convince the outside or the external to shape to you. You shape yourself, and the external responds and mirrors you in accordance to what you've become. So if you aren't receiving the type of women that you are desiring, if all you see in your reality is women who you do not find optimal or you don't find are at the level that you're wanting, it has nothing to do with the women of the world. It has everything to do with yourself. And that goes both ways. But like I said, I'm only speaking to the men because I only want to communicate with the masculine, because I don't feel it's my place to tell women what they should be doing. So that's my perspective.
I ain't even finna hold y'all, but I agree with Rambo, aka Wild Quetzal, when he said that it's not his place to tell a woman what she should be doing. He's absolutely right.
It's my place to tell women what they should be doing. So that's my perspective on it. That's why I don't want to build anything on telling women what to do. I just want to share with men how they can receive the kind of results that they're looking for by implementing change in themselves, and therefore attracting and being a more desirable option to the women that they're actually desiring, right? So this leads to a whole nother thing. We have to address the concepts of gender, and we have to address the concepts of gender roles in different societies and different cultures. And there is an idea going around that's popular that people will say things like gender is a social construct, right? And I totally understand where they're coming from. The thing is that most of the shit that we talk about is a social construct. Patriarchy and matriarchy are social constructs. Traditional indigenous people, our ancestors, were not using these words. They were not operating from the perspective of patriarchal versus matriarchal. That's something that developed people in modern times, in the current culture that we're in, started to embrace and create division with, right? So it's interesting to me that we will label gender as a social construct, but all the words that we use to peddle our beliefs aren't social constructs. So where do we draw the line, right? Between distinction and just complete chaos. So it's the human wants to organize, right? We want to organize reality in a way that makes it easier for us to understand. And this is why I love nature. This is why I love wildness, because wildness is honest. Domestication is a motherfucking liar. Domestication will have people out here, I agree with you. Like, it'll have people being fake and phony because they're scared of the social ramifications that have been, the pressure's been put on by people online coming through a motherfucking device. Or wildness would not give a fuck. It will just say what it thinks. It cannot help but express itself transparently and honest. But we've created a culture, a domesticated culture of people who are pressuring one another to not express themselves. And then we wonder why we get the type of dynamics that we get. Because anytime anybody has an opinion other than what you think, you label them the most extreme label that you can place within the culture. Oh, because I don't see things exactly as you see them. I'm a transphobe, I'm a bigot, I'm a racist, I'm all these things. And so you overutilize these words to the point where they don't mean shit. These words don't mean anything anymore because you've used them so frequently for every type of situation that they cease to have meaning. And therefore, you shut down the spirit and the energy of anybody who has any thought that's free and different than what you think. And then you create a homogenous society who's either goes along with it because they're scared or pretends to agree because they don't want to be socially castrated. Or they just convince themselves that that's the truth because they don't want to explore any other frames of thought because you've made it very uncomfortable and socially taboo to even express a slight concern that the idea that they're sharing could potentially be flawed. So that's why I love nature, because nature is honest. It don't give a fuck. It don't give a fuck about your political party. It don't give a fuck about your religious and spiritual beliefs. It don't give a fuck about what you think the world should be. It just is. And if I don't agree with that, I don't see it that way, I just will say it. And that's the energy that I think we should be tapping into. That's the wildness. Domestication wants to tell us and put us in a box and say, yes, all indigenous cultures only or observe more than two genders. Like, no, that's not true. And here's the fucked up thing, that most things that are controversial, both are true. And that's what fucks with people's minds, because we want to homogenize shit, right? So people will say indigenous cultures had more than two genders. Yes, some had more than two genders. Others did not. So the fact that you're focusing on the ones that had more than two is just a bias of your own. But why not highlight the ones that didn't? Oh, because it doesn't help your argument, but it's also a lie. Because now you're just weaponizing indigeneity and ancestral life ways. You're weaponizing that for your own agenda. Instead of just being like, hey, look, I see the world this way. Some indigenous people did, some didn't. And I resonate more so with the ones that did because that's how I see it. Say that. But no, what do people say? No, all indigenous, you're not indigenous unless you align with the LGBTQ plus all these things. And if you don't see things exactly how we see them, you're a transphobe and a bigot. That's not righteous. That is not righteous. And that communication does not lead to understanding. And whenever you shut people out just because you perceive there to be the difference of opinion, you stagnate yourself. There will never be growth unless you're willing to sit down and have a conversation with somebody that thinks differently than you. And your emotional response is a reflection of your level of maturity. So if you respond volatilely because I say, I don't see it that way, that should be also an indicator of your maturity, your emotional intelligence, and your capacity to withstand a difference of opinion. When not allowed to expand further than past our own perception, we become stunted in our development. And so we bottle this shit up, right? And then some motherfucker got to come on live and express what people are thinking, or make a video about what people are thinking, because everybody's too fucking paranoid and too pressured to not want to express it because of how much we've created a situation to box all this shit up.
All right, y'all, go ahead and drop me a comment, smash the heck out of that like button, and share. Thank you guys in advance.
We should have just been talking about it openly from the beginning. And these are the facts. Boom, 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 boom. You're allowed to have your perspective, but don't distort reality in order to do so. Oh, you believe X, Y, and Z? Cool. You're allowed to have that perspective. Don't say that I should believe that. Don't come on my page and tell me the truth, because then you just become what you're accusing me of. You're accusing me of saying things, this is the way things are, but then you come and say, nah, you're wrong. I know what things are. So you're doing the same shit to me, rather than being like, oh, I don't look at it that way, but this is how I look at it. But that's not what people do. They come at you very matter-of-factly and then accuse you of the same thing that they're propagating. So you're saying that people shouldn't listen to me, but they should listen to you? Oh, so I don't have any truth and you have all the truth. Oh, okay, that's a much better proposition. Hey guys, let's just follow him because he presents himself very humbly, but if you look under the surface, you can see all the narcissism and all this shit is present too. You the same as me, because you trying to tell you trying to tell the world you got the answers. So what the fuck? Like, if we both operate from that space, how are you any better? So maybe we can just reflect on that a little bit, because yeah, man, these are just words. Patriarchy, matriarchy. Hey, Jeremy, I'll bring you in. Oh, you know what? Yo, Jeremy.
What up?
Brother.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
My first time trying to join a live, so I'm like, how does this even work? Yeah, I mean, I just felt compelled to say, when you're talking about how nature is honest, you know, like you go out in nature, it's like it strips away the bullshit because you just see how things really are. You see that everything is kind of a social construct, how we live our lives, you know, and it just made me think about when you put yourself in those situations. Like, the first thing I thought of was parenting. You know, I had these ideas about how me and my girl should share the role of being the provider and being the caretaker of the children in kind of as equal a way as possible.
Right.
And then when you start feeling the pressures of what parenting really demands as a couple, when you're trying to be a healthy, you know, couple present there for your children and give them what they really need, you start to see like, oh shit, women are better at this thing and men are better at this thing. And over time, it completely changed my perspective. I started for more of that, like, you know, that kind of feminine, spiritual energy where it's like, oh, let's just share these roles and Neither one of us is better, above, or below the other person. But then when you're in that experience, it's like, oh shit. Well, actually, I'm meant to be the provider. My bodily hormones, my nervous system, the way I respond to things, I do that better than my girl does. And guess what? Like when it comes to taking care of the children, being patient, being receptive, she does that better than I do it. Like we can both kind of take on those roles, but at the end of the day, it's like you just kind of see when you're under that pressure how that shit gets stripped away.
I love that you said that, because that's a great point. I always say crisis creates clarity, and also nature creates clarity, right? And so if you place humans on the land, things are going to orchestrate and organize a certain way. And this is the problem, that we live in a experiment. We live in a, how do you say, like, we live in an environment. It's like a controlled environment. We live in a controlled environment, right? So civilization is a controlled environment, and what it's doing is homogenizing humanity, because it's eliminating the things that made the distinctions. But the thing is that we still have the innate nature within us. So we still long for and have innate attributes that align with our nature, but we live in a society that has homogenized responsibilities because it's created a controlled environment. So now women are looking at men, and men are looking at women like we should all just play the same role because the environment is controlled. And for the most part, we could, right? Women could go to work, earn a living. Men could stay home and take care of the kids. And like a lot of the roles that we have today are kind of interchangeable. And that's why the closer you get to nature, the closer you get away from civilization, the more it structures itself around this dynamic of masculine and feminine. If you go to tribes, they have this dynamic playing out. Yes, there is some cultures that also have things like even here on the island, in Native American cultures that have like this third role, that is somewhere in between, but they still have the men and the women. They still have things that the men can do and things that are taboo for the men to do, and vice versa. So it's interesting that we only pick at the things that we want to highlight, but we don't look at the totality of it. And I think that it's kind of disrespectful in a way, because we're just kind of taking from these cultures what we want and then excluding the other parts of it in an attempt to like big our own beliefs up.
Sure, to serve the agenda. Everyone's trying to like push their agenda now.
Right.
It's so hard to find like objectivity,
So
like what am I really seeing? What's really here,
Yeah, and a lot of it is very diverse. Like there's a lot of diversity within traditional cultures. So you will see some that practice certain things and others that don't. And there's also similarities. But I think that when we talk about them in this way, because everybody wants to weaponize ancestral ways for their own benefit. Like people will say, oh, we used to eat nothing but meat. Oh, we used to eat nothing but fruit, because there's this idea that humans were once like perfect and harmonious and didn't have any differences. So everybody's trying to identify what that was so that they could say, well, this is how you should live life because that's how our ancestors did it. But as far as my observation and what I've observed, who we are in our current form is largely very diverse. And humans just also come coupled with diversity throughout cultures and throughout different ways of living, depending on where you are on the earth.
Y'all, look who it is. It's Tori, aka Mama Joy. Who remembers Tori, y'all? She's the one that was with Nubian, aka Musa, aka Dalen. She's the one that had a daughter with him, and she named her daughter Nubia. Now, she eventually left the cult in a very dramatic way. She did return once, I think, at Mama Cookie's house, but she moved on eventually, got married, has another kid, doing great.
So that complicates the understanding of a simple of just like, oh, this is how we used to live and this is how we should live now. So it's kind of like that's where subjectivity comes into play. What are you going to notice and take on that you're going to integrate into your beliefs, And so it's just interesting to me. I'm so glad that you said that, because I think it's very true that the closer we get to nature, the closer we get to crisis, people snap out of this illusion and they're forced to get back into like the natural roles, right? Like war hits, the women don't line up to go to war, right? It's the
Right.
men, like instinctually, and the men are willing, and that's good. The men should be willing to lay their life on the line. But it's just when things get serious and shit hits the fan, like nature takes back over and the roles get really fucking clear at that point.
Yeah.
It's just a consequence of the controlled environment that we've created in modern society that allows people to kind of have these ideologies, as far as I've observed.
Oh yeah, it's like we have this image now. It's like people are afraid to talk about things like, and I've been experiencing this since I was like I don't know, third wave feminism or whatever. Like people are afraid to talk about innate differences, whether it's like racial, sexual, if you even bring up the idea that there might be differences between people, then you're like, oh, well, what you're saying is that one person is better than another. One person is hierarchically above or below, and it's like people are afraid to even accept the idea that different cultures do things differently, different genders do things differently, people from different backgrounds do things differently. And like, that show Community, I don't know if you remember that show, like that fucking Childish Gambino was on it, like great show back in the day. Anyway, like this school was like super woke. It was like early days of woke, and their mascot was just like the I don't think it was like the Greendale human being, and it was just like this guy in like a gray jumpsuit, like completely featureless, and it's just like, and it's like, this is our mascot, like the human being, and he's just like, people have this thought now that it's to even acknowledge it, that there's differences between people, means that you're making someone less than,
Right.
And we're just so afraid.
And also we like to shine the light on like the positive aspects. Like we might say like leadership is a higher on the hierarchy, but it's like, but it also comes with all the fucking burden. It also comes with all the responsibility. So it's like most people don't want leadership for those reasons. They want the byproduct of what leadership, or they think leadership can bring them.
Sure. The benefits, the glory, all that shit.
Yes. Yeah. So even at that level, it's like you're looking at it all wrong. Primarily, if you seek out responsibility, you will naturally develop leadership, just because that's the nature of that. And you actually need responsibility in order to balance leadership out, because that's what keeps leadership in balance, is having the responsibility and the duty to provide and the things that is required of you. But people only see the bright side, right? It's like that's the reality. People only see the come up. They don't see the struggle. So I think because of that.
All right, y'all. So I am back with another great read. This is the Goddess Affirmation book, authored by Janae. Some of you may know her as Nateri. She is an ex-Carbonation member, and she has authored this amazing book. The book is available on Amazon.com. Just search for the Goddess Affirmation book, authored by Janae Newell.
People only see the come up, they don't see the struggle. So I think because of that, we're trying to get away from what we perceive as hierarchies. Like we don't want leadership, everybody's equal, because of that same phenomenon, that we're only looking at the positive things and not seeing how these things play out in totality. So if you understood how the dynamics played out in totality, you wouldn't try to eliminate that shit. You would see like, oh, this person's up there because they're doing all this, and these people are down here because they're helping them. So you would see how all this shit plays out, and you would just be understanding that the way things are is for a reason, and when you try to disturb the natural order of things, that's when you start to get into issues. That's when you start to get the kind of misalignment that we have today, and so, yeah, man. Hey, what up, brother?
What's good? What's good? My name is Zen. It's good to be here with y'all.
Hey, what up, Zen?
It's good. So, I'm a young man of myself, right, in this spiritual world. And the video that you posted recently caught my eye because I started this journey when I was 14, and I'm 19 right now. And I was in the same lane. I was like, oh, everything is, all healing, and I was on the more feminine side of it, and um, I accepted myself, but I also realized like I'm a man, bro. Like I have masculine traits. I can't run away from these things. You know what I'm saying? And me just growing up and realizing that, I noticed which you already touched on, these spiritual norms that people submit to so easily. It keeps people in such a submissive state to where thinking for yourself is almost like a fucking crime, bro. And it's
Yeah,
like,
it literally,
like,
literally.
bro, you know what I'm saying? Like, if someone doesn't meditate, oh, you're not spiritual. And it's like, that's probably the lowest thing you could ever say. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So, where I'm going with this is like, as young men, it's very important for you to think for yourself and to, create your own psyche rather than, allowing influence from someone who really doesn't, see life from where you want to see it or hasn't been there before. I like to take, how do I say? I like to take intel and advice and wisdom from people who have been where I'm at, or have,
Or who are where you're trying to go.
exactly, who have already experienced that. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So, and then that comes into play when like a masculine figure. Like I've met so many single mothers, and they've told me to them like straight up to my face, it's hard because they're not a man. They don't know how to raise boys. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So,
Sure.
And it's interesting you say that because I don't know if you guys saw the video I shared on my story, but a lot of uh, a lot of men in jail like come from like primarily like they're single parent households, and a lot of times it was women,
hmm
and that speaks on more so like the absence of the man than it does the presence of the woman, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
So so that's the reason I say that, is to say that when the masculine isn't present, that presence, even like my I just talked to my dad today. He was there, but he wasn't really present, and so I didn't really have that masculine guidance. I had to seek that out in the world and try to develop that for myself. So now I feel like I'm having to reiterate.
I ain't even finna hold y'all, but do y'all think that Rambo, aka Wild Quetzal, viewed Eligio Bishop, aka Nature Boy, aka Three God, as a more masculine and like a father-like figure? I mean, Eligio Bishop, aka Nature Boy, aka Three God, is older than Rambo. What y'all think? Let me know in the comments.
And try to develop that for myself. So now I feel like I'm having to reiterate that understanding back to him because he never had it. So
mm,
it's just crazy how it plays out. Like he had me so that I can go out here and learn it for myself, so then I can come back and bring it to him. And the thing is that a lot of the behavior that we see in the men that we label toxic masculinity is actually feminine energy or overly feminine energy coming through men because they were raised in feminine environments, you know. And so they're out here doing gang activity, low key looking for a rite of passage
Sure.
because they didn't have a rite of passage.
Yeah.
So they over here thinking that they need to prove themselves. So what they gonna do? They're gonna try to find something, some mechanism by which they can try to prove themselves. And the only thing that's available to them in their environment is gang-related activity and is illegal shit that is gonna get them incarcerated.
I
So then
almost
we,
I almost fell into that trap like as a youngin', bro. I grew up in New York, so
yeah,
that's one of the main places that fucking that encourages gang activity, bro. So
100%.
I was close to that shit, and I'm glad that my parents seen that I was like not on that path of just becoming a righteous being, becoming my own person. I was trying to follow the footsteps of these people that I called my friends. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
Doing gang shit, and it's like, bro, I had to realize they're not really looking for a direction in life. They never had one. They never sought out a direction. So they only chose the one way that they saw, which was, all that type of activity. So
Yeah,
very important point, my brother.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Props for
What's
looking
up, brother?
past that, man.
All right, y'all. Now, listen very closely to the following exchange, all right? I know it's a little scratchy. I don't know why that's happening, why there's feedback happening, but just listen. I think it clears up after a little bit. Listen to this following exchange between Rambo, aka Wild Quetzal, and the person that just joined the live.
Very important point, my brother.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Props for
What's
looking
up, brother?
past that, man.
Thank you.
What's up? What's up?
Thank you for your story. Hi, my name is Miche, and I wanted to hop on your call.
Yeah, yeah.
A different. You seem to talk a lot about how important it is to listen to different perspectives, and I'm here to share a little bit of that. There's something that I'm a bit concerned with what you've said in a lot of the conversation brought in today. One of the things being the idea of patriarchy, matriarchy, these words. I think we need to acknowledge the impact that patriarchy has had historically, and the fact that patriarchy has created a lot of the problems that a lot of men and women face. Everybody suffers under patriarchy. So it's concerning to me when you say that, when you try to minimize something as complex as patriarchy and blame it on the feminine. It's much more complicated than that, I think, and I'm open to talk. And I want you to know that I'm also transgender. I love masculinity, and I love nature. I'm an environmentalist. So that's my background here. And I'm happy to explain a little bit of my perspective, but I know I'm going to be met with resistance potentially, and also the fact that a lot of people don't understand transgender people. They don't understand the experience of being transmasculine or of being transfeminine. Yeah. And so we use bioessentialist terms of masculinity and femininity. It can be harmful towards transgender people because nobody really understands our experience, and then we're trying to simplify things rather than embrace the diversity.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm glad to have you here, and I'm open to discussing this conversation in nuance, you know, because there's only so much you can say on the comments and in the video.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I just want to let you know that, you know, this is a space where you could just be transparent, and I want to share my mind. You can share yours, and yeah, when we're talking about in regards to patriarchy and matriarchy, are you open to the possibility that I do not feel empowered by taking on the perspective that you're presenting, and that I have a perspective that makes me feel more empowered than what you are presenting?
Yeah, I do. I also want to bring awareness to the fact that some of the things that you are sharing perpetuate a pattern that our society has of erasure towards communities like mine.
So do you believe it's my responsibility to take on your relationship with yourself?
No, that's not what I believe. But I believe as an influencer and somebody who has a lot of impact, that consideration does go a long way. I'm not asking you to change your entire platform or anything. Just hear me out. That's it. This is why I came on. That's why I commented. And I hope that you consider it. That's it. I think biosexualism can be.
All right, now, Bush babies, I see y'all in the analytics. It's 42% of you guys not subscribed. Come on, y'all. Go on ahead and subscribe to the channel.
Be very misleading, and it can make people even more violent towards communities like mine when we're still trying to survive. We're still trying to advocate for our safety, our survival, and people are actively killing us. So it's very important that when we are making these arguments, that we understand that it's much more complicated. Minimizing and simplifying it does a huge disservice to.
Right.
That's it.
Let me ask you this: are you open to the possibility that the same thing that you're feeling, other people are feeling as a result of your actions? And if so, what makes your own perspective higher or in greater demand as truth than theirs does to theirs. Like they're thinking,
That's a
oh,
great question.
they might feel threatened just like you feel threatened for your own life. They might feel the same way. They're like, my family, this. So it's like it goes both ways.
I
So
want to make a clear distinction that this isn't about me. It's about a bigger picture. It's about the communities that I come from. And one of the things that you've said so yourself is that the masculine is about creating a foundation for others, right? Protecting.
right,
I'm in my right now. I'm in your perspective. This is how you described it. Being in your masculine is protecting others, advocating for others, right?
Right.
That's what I'm doing. So I hope that helps you understand. But on top of that, the thing that you're asking is it equitable to bring this up, to make other people uncomfortable? And I say yes, it undoubtedly. Simply because the communities that have been historically oppressed and historically treated and violent continuingly, to this day, we have higher rates of homicide in our communities. We have higher rates of violence towards our communities. The transgender, the queer communities, the gender diverse communities that I'm sorry, but you don't have a very clear understanding about them. And that's okay, because I want you to be open to that. I don't want to scare you, and I don't want you to think that I'm trying to like deplatform you or something, but it is important that we have these conversations.
If I could say something whenever you.
One second. Once I'm finished, the equity piece, it is equitable because the dominant culture, the cisgender community, cisgender meaning you identify with the gender you were assigned at birth, heterosexual community meaning you are attracted to the opposite sex. These dominant communities are the main, like, what's the word? It's like you guys don't have as many obstacles to overcome. You don't have as many social, like, violent rejection of your innate nature. And so it is perfectly normal for you to go out there and be treated with respect and dignity, whereas for other communities, we really have to fight for that. So it does make sense to me to elevate those communities. And I hope that answered your question.
yeah. I think fundamentally how I approach life is different. Obviously, you said because our disposition in terms of how we relate to the identity that we have within ourselves, but also primarily how I look at it is how we respond to adversity. I don't perceive adversity to be the problem. I actually have found it very helpful in my own development. And I think that this is going down the road of hierarchically organizing marginalization to where the top of the pyramid is the most marginalized. And what this does, in my opinion, is it creates an environment to be rooted in victimization rather than empowering yourself. That's my belief. You don't have to take it on, but that's how I apply that to myself. So I could say, oh, I'm Hispanic, I was born first, I could have all these things that, just how you have a list of things that you feel that you've been marginalized for, I can produce a list that might not be as extensive as yours maybe, but I can choose to put emphasis and focus on that, and my life will start to become organized around that reality, because the bias of looking at life through that will show me more of that in my reality. You buy a new car you never seen before, all of a sudden you see it everywhere. So it's the same kind of thing. When we focus on certain things, we start to put our focus more and so on it. So because I've noticed that pattern within myself, coming when I was young, I was really attracted to this idea of, socialism, capitalism's a problem, the system needs to, I was very attracted to all these ideologies because it pushed the blame away from me and into the external world, which made it very convenient and easy for me not to have to change. But I also feel like that's very disempowering, because what we're saying is that our freedom, our peace, our success is contingent upon the system that we live in. So that means that none of us will experience success until the system changes. I do not like.
Look, y'all, it's ex-carbonation member Jacob, aka Mente. Y'all, go on ahead and translate what he's singing about for me in the comments. Thank you.
like that formulation. I do not believe that that's true. And so when I shifted my perspective, I started to feel way more empowered. And the life that I've been able to create now has been much more fruitful because of the thought that I'm in control of my situation as opposed to positioning myself as a victim. So that's been my experience. So I can't share anything other than that, because when I embrace the opposite ideology, I didn't see the results that I saw by taking on the responsibility and ownership that I do now. So that's why I have the mindset that I have.
Thank you for sharing. I think that's, yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I was a bit confused when you started talking about the hierarchy piece, but I'll say I'm not saying that there's an inherent hierarchy, that people at the bottom, saying that transgender people are at the bottom of this hierarchy. I don't think that's true. I think transgender people can be found in every society doing all kinds of roles and helping their communities in all kinds of ways. I've seen it. I've seen them flourishing. I've seen them thriving. I've also seen them in difficult places, situations. And so when you're talking about this victim versus I'm in control sort of dichotomy, it's again, you're minimizing and simplifying it. And I think it requires a little bit more thought.
You know, if I could just say, in my
Oh yeah, forgot to listen. Go ahead.
Not everyone can speak to every group, you know.
For those of you who have been wondering, Ra is doing amazing. She is living her best life, as you can see. She's been tipping her toe into the modeling industry, and I wish her nothing but the best. Y'all, be sure to leave me a comment.
Kind of like what Quetzal was saying, how he doesn't feel like it's his place to speak to what women's role should be. And, you know, it's like, in my opinion, trying to speak, like I'm a man, and if I have anything to say about masculinity, I'm trying to speak to people who are seeking healthy masculinity and feel like they are not having a great direction about how to find it. And just, you know, that is the only person I feel comfortable speaking to. And the idea that we are all in this kind of, there's an image now that we're in this universal public forum because of social media and the internet, and it's kind of, there's no boundaries between areas of anybody can speak their truth, you know, in this medium at any time. But the fact is we have different experiences, and we're seeking different things. I don't mean you and I mean like all of us. And, you know, it's like one of my favorite quotes lately is, you know, the person who has the person that's the best role model is not the expert, but the person who's one step further along on the same path that you're on. And, you know, it's like I'm only interested in speaking to people about masculinity because that's the path that I'm on, healthy masculinity. And I don't deny that, you know, trans people or other groups have gone through a lot of struggle, but you have to be able to speak to people that are on the same path that you're on for you to have anything meaningful to say to that person, you know. And I don't believe that minimizes anybody. It's just we can't all speak to everybody because we don't all understand everyone's experiences, you know. And I don't think that necessarily is marginalizing or minimizing someone else's experience or their struggle.
Correct.
And it's, in my opinion, like the healthy masculinity movement is trying to speak to people that are seeking something that's hard to find nowadays, you know, that healthy masculinity. And it's okay for people to want that, you know, no matter what you believe about society. If people are seeking that, they have something beneficial to contribute, you know.
I totally understand 100%. I know exactly what you're talking about. My problem is the way it's being framed is that femininity is the problem, is that the femininity within the men is the problem. and that is not okay with me. So I had to
Right.
say something, because femininity is found in every living being.
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
energy.
That,
So it just really, I had to say something in defense of all of the all of the femininity that I have in my life, all the experiences that I've had, and as a masculine of center person, somebody who really identifies with masculinity,
yeah.
who wants to be a protector of my communities. I really had to draw attention to it. Thank you for having me on your call today.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna.
thank you so much.
I don't want any more discomfort, because I know this can be uncomfortable for people.
Discomfort's good. You know, there's nothing wrong with
Exactly.
discomfort. We all should be willing to lean into that. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, man. Thanks for really coming on. I feel I really
Yeah.
got appreciation for your perspective, because I don't want just a bunch of people that agree. Also, I want to hear other people's perspective.
Yeah.
And my also, just to be clear, like, my goal with that video wasn't to disparage femininity. I was more so, and maybe I didn't articulate it well enough, but it was more so pointing to the fact that we haven't come into our masculinity as men seeking to be in that role. Therefore, we're overly feminine, but not because femininity is inherently bad, but because we're out of balance with what we're trying to become based on where we're trying to grow. So in that way, that's why I positioned it that way. Like, so
I just
by
hope that
default,
people. That's, I don't know, because I doubt that a lot of people will see that, think positively about femininity.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on. So let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Nature and wild. Okay. Yeah, I think I covered everything. But I'm really glad we got that perspective, because, you know, I don't want to be in some sort of echo chamber. You know, I want to hear other people's minds.
Yeah.
And
Fuck the
well.
echo chamber.
I just
Too
think,
many echo chambers.
yeah, I just think that sometimes, like you said, we have different goals, that we're going towards different things, and we're trying to talk to other people who aren't on our path, you know? And so it's like we kind of cross, like we're looking at them over there on a different path, and we're trying to tell them what they should be doing, and vice versa, you know? So yeah, I just want to clear up, like, my intention for sharing what I share, for making that video, was not to disparage femininity. It was to make a distinction that a lot of men in spiritual community, specifically, as I stated, are taking on a more feminine role, but that's not what a lot of men want to do. A lot of men want feminine women, but they're...
I ain't even finna hold y'all, but I definitely enjoyed the way that Rambo, aka Wild Quetzal, handled the situation. He was definitely open to hearing his perspective on, you know, the gender roles and different things within his community that was going on. But yeah, Rambo handled that right, y'all. What y'all think? Drop me some comments. Let me know what y'all think. He got his grown man on, I think.
But that's not what a lot of men want to do. A lot of men want feminine women, but they're taking the feminine role, so they're never going to get a feminine woman or be able to keep one, because the role that they're playing, they might not even realize it. It might be subconsciously playing out. So they're living a life that's embodying femininity while trying to attract femininity, but that's not how that works, right? So just pointing that out, making that distinction, can help other men realize that, hey man, the crystals and all that stuff is cool, but the tenets of masculinity are deuce, deuce, deuce. Are you providing? Are you disciplined? Are you looking to take care of others? Are you looking to be of service? Are you looking to be of duty? So when you start focusing on that, you don't really have a lot of time for the external things, like focusing on that and thinking that that's going to make it different. The focus starts to shift from the external to the present, to closer to you. And so that's when you start working out, building up your body, because you realize that everything that you experience and the value that you have to provide and offer the world is a byproduct of who you become.
Yeah.
So then you're like, oh shit, I got to build myself up, because if I want to do anything for the world, I have to empower this being right here. Because the only way that people get benefit from me is from the relationship they have with me, and how I show up is going to dictate the value that they receive. And that's okay. For a man, it's okay to have value in how other people receive you. There's nothing wrong with that. People say, no, don't care about what other people think. No, if people are in your intimate circle, they're part of your tribe, you should care, because they're giving you feedback.
Yeah,
know what I
those
mean?
are the ones that are gonna tell you if you're tripping or not. Those are the ones that are gonna tell you
Right.
you need to step that shit up. Those are the
Right.
ones.
All right, y'all. So I am back with another great read. This is the Goddess Affirmation book, authored by Janae. Some of you may know her as Nateri. She is an ex-Carbonation member, and she has authored this amazing book. The book is available on Amazon.com. Just search for the Goddess Affirmation book, authored by Janae Newell.
The ones that are gonna tell you if you're tripping or not. Those are the ones that are gonna tell you
Right.
you need to step that shit up. Those are the
Right.
ones that are gonna tell you like, yo, you can do this better. I've seen you do this shit. You know, keep going. Like, those are the people you
Exactly.
fucking need, bro. Like, and I was the same way. I was ignorant to that shit. Like, I used to not give a fuck about people used to tell me, bro. Like I'm a fire sign, bro. I'm a Leo, so you know what I'm saying. I'm stubborn on some shit. But whenever I realized, like, yo, people care about me, and they don't want to see me like in the dust, bro. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna start opening my ears a little bit and just observe more and just listen. You know what I'm saying? Because just as you were speaking on earlier, like the leadership role is that's we for the ones who become leaders, we don't really choose to be that. That's just a natural process that happens through our experience and our evolution. You know what I mean? And once we realize, oh, I'm actually fit for this role, then we start to implement, you know, those aspects of self that actually start to build. You know what I'm saying? Like you just said, the working out, the discipline, those things.
Right.
You know, that's all that leads up to, you know, really being empowered in your own vessel. You know, God did not give us this vessel just to sit around and be lazy, bro. Like,
Right.
that's something that I really learned at an early age, and I'm grateful forever for that. You know, because it's ingrained in me. I can't lose it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is that we actually have a better experience when we put ourselves through those things.
Yeah.
It's such a fucking paradox because we think we're punishing ourselves, but we actually experience better health, better vitality, a better experience in this life when we go through hard shit. And that's why I said what I said, you know, to the person that came on, because I admire adversity for its ability to transform men.
Yeah.
And that's the rite of passage in a nutshell. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if I disparage adversity, I'm saying I don't want men to develop and become who they're supposed to become. So the more comfortable we get as a society, and specifically the more comfortable men get, and bro, I have personal experience with it, not just with myself, but with my dad. He got comfortable, you know, and that comfort that he's indulging and sitting in is not only not good for him, but it's not good for my mom. It's not good for anybody around you.
Yes.
So it's like you got to think about the other people. When you're sitting there on the couch playing video games and not doing what you're supposed to be doing, it's not about you. It's way more than that. It's about the people
Yeah.
around you and the duty that you came here to fulfill. You're not living in that, and it's not healthy for you either. You're not going to feel like your best self unless you're putting yourself through turmoil. And people don't like to hear that because we have such a negative relationship with challenge that we don't know and realize it's one of the biggest blessings that we could ever be bestowed upon.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? 'Cause that's what transforms you.
Yeah. For real. Like there was a couple quotes. I'm pretty sure like most of us maybe on this call have heard this, but you know, I asked God for strength, he gave me challenge. I asked God for wisdom, he gave me conversations to speak in. You know, like things like that. You know, it's an exchange, bro. It's literally
All right, y'all, going ahead and drop me a comment, smash the heck out of that like button, and share. Thank you guys in advance.
always an exchange. You don't go through shit just to go through it, bro. Like it comes with something. You may not see it yet. I have probably not seen it, but it comes a long way. Like it's a journey. It's not just a one-stop challenge and oh, I give up now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
And the thing is, like, we have to be ready because that's life. Life always going to have adversity. So you either prepare for it and go through it, or you're not prepared for it and go through it. So
yeah,
which experience do you want to have? Do you want to
yeah,
go through it prepared or not? So
yeah,
it's like you got to stay ready, you know, because that's just life. But then also you get the benefit of what it feels like to be ready. It feels really good the more prepared you are. It feels really good when you're healthy and strong and capable. It feels really good when you're providing and have the resources to do the things that you need to do. it feels really good. So I would highly recommend you tap into that frequency, because you're going to get benefit. The people around you are going to get benefit. There's no inherent benefit to not thinking that you're capable and not executing on that. And that was the gist of what I was trying to communicate, is there's no benefit in thinking that you're helpless or a victim. There's no
Real.
it could even be true. That's the fucked up part. It could be true that you are a victim, but there's no benefit in lingering in that and making that a part of your identity. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say that it's not true. I'm saying that the mindset that we embody, the thoughts that we have on a daily basis, they dictate our destiny. And if you linger on certain thoughts, they paint a destiny that you might not want to experience. So when you know that, you have certain thoughts and you're like, oh no, I'm not gonna keep thinking like that, because I know where that path leads. I've seen other people take on that path and I didn't like where it led. So therefore I had to alter and, like they say, alchemize my thoughts so that I can think the highest thoughts that will achieve the results I'm looking for. And so when you start looking at life that way, things become a lot more clear. And you're like, shit, the thing is, victim mentality feels good. That shit feels good to be like, whoa, it's me.
Sure.
The world is fucked up. That shit feels really good. You get that quick dopamine from thinking that life is just unfair. But when
you don't have to do anything. It gives you an out, you know?
Exactly.
You don't, when you're just like, oh, I'm a victim of circumstance, then it's not your responsibility anymore. Then you're just like, I don't have to take action, and that's easy. But of course, doesn't leave you very fulfilled at the end of the day, and it doesn't get you going anywhere. It doesn't get you anything. It just leaves you stuck, you know?
So
yeah.
So it's like you can indulge in that all you want, but later on you're gonna reap the repercussions of that indulgence, which is your life isn't gonna look how you want it to look. And then on the other hand, it's reversed for success. You might have to go through challenge and struggle now, but then you end up with a life that you actually want to live, you know? So it's like, you choose. It's up to you. You choose, you know? Neither is right or wrong. It's just about what
It's
is the
really choice.
you're looking for. Yeah, it's your choice.
That's it. It's choice, bro. Like that dictates, you know, every situation, every circumstance is choice. You know, that's the one thing you always have control over. Is like, what choice am I about to fucking make right now? You know what I'm saying? Like, where is it gonna fucking lead me? Where do I see, you know, 5 years from now? It may not be the exact vision, but where do I see that this choice leads me to? You know, it's just critical thinking, you know, that I feel that's important for everyone, men, women, whatever you claim yourself to be. You know, really think about the decisions you're gonna make, bro. Like, you know, how, especially if it's for your own soul and the beneficial, you know, retributions of the people around you, your tribe. You know what I'm saying? How is that gonna affect you and your tribe the most? You know, what are their benefits too? Like, it's not just, you know, becoming a man is not just about you anymore. I realize that. You know, you have to empower yourself, but it's, you know, you have more people around you to take care of in a way. You know, so
Real. And to have something to give, it's like you have to build yourself up to have anything to be.
All right, y'all. If you haven't picked up your copy of Greatness is a Habit, authored by Aaron Dixon, otherwise known as True, many of you know him as True. He is an ex-Carbonation member, and he's authored this amazing read. If you are interested in self-development and growth, this book is a good one for you. It's available on Apple Books for $1, guys. I got my copy and I love this book.
Able to be anything for anyone else. You know, you have to focus on you just to be able to give back. You know, if you're only thinking about what's out there, you can't give anything. You know, it's like I used to get lost in the news and just be like, you know, there's so much focus on like spreading awareness now and the importance of like awareness. And it's like, at the end of the day, people just numb out because they have no sense of like, where am I in the middle of all this shit? How am I showing up? What can I do? But it's like when we turn the focus back on ourselves, we end up having something to give back.
And the thing is, we're not designed to be able to hold all this awareness, you know. You can't keep up with what's going on in every country across the globe at any given time with every crisis. It's just like, And I think that that's the issue with a lot of these social causes, that they take people away from the present moment. You know, they take people away from their family,
One.
from their tribe, from their immediate situation, and they
Yeah.
place their attention on what's happening on the other side of the world. Which you could look at it like, yeah, that's a very that's a righteous thought, like, oh, that you want
Sure.
to help other people,
It
but
comes
how
from
does
a
that
good
actually
perspective.
manifest? Do we
Yeah.
actually get a better society, a better world, by people focusing on situations that are happening somewhere else, or do we actually get a better situation by people being present with with the situation they already have in their immediate reality? You know, and so I think about how that's kind of like the illusion, right? That we can help someone out there, but there's already people out there. So why aren't those people helping people out
Yep.
there? You know, so that's really the issue. Like, you're not present to where you're at because you're focused on your focus is everywhere but the present and where you're at. So, you know, it's just a lot of shit. You got to be able to sift and you know, be able to navigate through this online ecosystem, because if not, you get lost in some rabbit hole of some bullshit that doesn't have any positive impact on your life, you know.
Sure.
And you get so invested in it, it becomes part of your identity, and you have a hard time disconnected from it. And now it's like I'm trying to show you something different, and now you feel like I'm trying to attack you or kill something in you
Sure.
because you're so identified with it, you know.
Yeah.
And it just becomes like resentment and blame, and everybody's like seeking, like, who do I blame? Who do I blame for all these problems?
There's no
Like,
blame, bro. There is
yeah.
no fucking blame. Except really
Yeah.
except for yourself. I mean, but that's not blame though. I cut that shit when I was, you know, when I'm on this journey. It's like it's responsibility and like
Yeah.
accountability. Like,
Responsibility,
you know what I'm
accountability.
saying?
Absolutely.
And I'm taking accountability for the shit that I just did. Like if I did some stupid shit, okay, I just did that. Let me correct myself and move forward, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stay stuck on that. You know what I'm saying? And that goes back to the conversation of nature. Like nature teaches you the fucking real. Like when I'm out here like messing with the fire, bro, this fire's gonna fuck me up if I don't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't
Yeah.
care, bro. Like
Yeah.
it's bro, nature is raw, and that's really why, you know, I'm very passionate about restoring the natural world and becoming more natural by the day. Like, you know, to the food products, to the fucking hygiene products, to the psyche, to the mental, to the spiritual, everything. Like,
Right.
you know, returning to our natural state is the most important right now because our planet is not playing. See, look, as soon as I said that, the fire just started to ignite. Like,
Yeah,
that's confirmation in itself. You know what
yeah,
I'm
bro.
saying?
Yeah, I love. That's what I love about nature too. And I think that's the same thing a lot of people don't like, is that, and that's what civilization is. Civilization is the suppression and trying to escape reality, trying to escape realness, trying to escape the wild, untamed aspects of ourselves. So
For
we
sure.
created a simulated environment called cities, so we wouldn't have to experience nature because we didn't like the discomfort of it, but we didn't realize that the discomfort was actually beneficial. That the relationship that we have with nature is like is a polar relationship. Like, yes, it has challenges, but it also produces everything that we need to exist. So it's like we didn't like that dynamic, so we tried to domesticate it, and we domesticated ourselves in the process. So now we're at a point where people can't be honest and just be themselves. They share what they actually think because we've created such an environment that's so hostile to real shit, to realness. You know,
Yeah.
that's crazy, right? Like,
Y'all, check out this short featuring Brianna, aka Syrian, ex-Carbonation member.
I was just thinking, like, solitude can be healthy, but it can also be unhealthy. Like, for me, I love solitude, but I also love being around people. But the thing about it is, like, I don't want to be just around anybody. Like, I don't want to be around people that bring me down or just make me feel drained energetically.
Y'all, please be sure to drop me a comment, smash the heck out of that like button, and share.
environment that's hostile to realness.
See, once we all return to nature, it'll make sense, and especially for the ones, you know, like us who are already on that path. You know, like we've been doing this. I guarantee, you know, both of you good brothers, you've been on this planet before. I guarantee this isn't your first time.
Oh,
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? We've done this before, and we're gonna do it again because it needs to be done. Like, you know, I don't see any other reason why we're here. You know, if God needed us here to put some, put some things in place, then that's what we're gonna do. You know.
Yeah, and that's just understanding your path, and understanding not everybody's on that path either, and being at peace with that, you know.
Yeah.
And so just stay focused. Like I said, not everybody thinks like a chief, Some people think like commoners, and
Yeah.
it's not their role to think like a chief, If that's your path, then stay focused on your path. Don't be looking at how they should thinking or how they should be thinking. Focus on your mindset and
Yeah.
live the life and the path that you're destined for.
Ashe.
So
Okay.
yeah, man. With that being said, I
It
think I'm
was
gonna
good
close it
talking to
out,
you,
y'all.
y'all.
Yeah. They gonna make dinner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right,
thanks
great
for coming
talk.
on.
Yeah,
I'm
for
gonna save
real.
it.
Mm-hmm. This is a good one.
Yeah.
Thank you,
All
brother,
right,
for
later,
inviting
bros.
us.
All right, y'all.
Much
Everybody
love.
have a good night. Thank you for coming on. Hit me up if you need anything.
Oh yeah.
Peace.
All right, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed this video as well as my commentary. Please be sure to drop me a comment, smash the heck out of that like button, and share. Guys, I want to give a big shout out to all of my new subscribers. Hey, y'all. Welcome to the channel. To all of my OGs, my day ones, my ride or dies. Y'all already know what it is. Big up yourself. We in the building with it. Hey there, bush babies. I still see a lot of y'all over there in the bushes. I can see y'all in the analytics. Come on over to the channel. Yo, replay gang, where you at? Comment replay if you catching this on the replay. All right, y'all. I'm out of here.